On primetime, the road to the Super Bowl of the AFC goes through Buffalo, through Wright Stadium, in fact, as Frank Reich stood tall for the Bills against the Dolphins. Not standing so tall for another weekend quarterback, since he turns thumbs down on Warren Moon. Who's the best at KOing a QB? Try the Eagles. Troy Aikman will attest. Seeing the trend, the Niners went with Steve Young and gave Joe Montana the day off. No day off for the injured Steve DeBerg, who tried to figure his Chiefs into the playoffs. Pull up a sleigh. Santa and primetime are coming to town. Hello once again, everybody. Welcome to Week 16 of ESPN's NFL Primetime. I'm Chris Berman, and whoa, we have some of the playoff picture unscrambled. Some of it is more scrambled than green eggs and ham. Helping us unscramble everything. See, I have kids. Tom Jackson, Pete Axthelm, Robin Roberts. We shall explain all. He had that look then, but boy, did the Buffalo Bills have that look Sunday afternoon. It was winner take all, just about, at least on Buffalo's side. If they beat the Miami Dolphins in Miami's first trip to Buffalo ever in December, and they play every year since 1966. If the Bills won, home field throughout the playoffs. Dolphins won today, won next week, they would get the same honor. And the question of Frank Reich at quarterback for the injured Jim Kelly. But to steal a song from Free, they were all right now. Baby, they were all right now. And so their 80,000 fans at Wright Stadium thought so. Jim Kelly trying to give a helping hand on the sidelines. Frank Reich, see the guy behind him, Thurman Thomas? It's a good thing he was behind him. Reich wasted no time. The opening kickoff goes to the Bills. Reich puts it up to keep McKellar, but the big tight end can't hold on. Third play from scrimmage. Reich to Thurman Thomas across the middle. Pick up at 15 yards, and Marv Levy told us this week he'd run the hurry-up offense with Reich. Marv doesn't lie. Reich to the white flash. Don Beebe nailed by Jarvis Williams, but it's a 14-yard pickup. 3 plays later at the Dolphins 27. Reich tries to scramble, but he fumbles. Was he jittery? The Dolphins recovered. Marv Levy had to wonder, Tommy.
You know, blocking Bruce Smith for that line was their #1 job. Richmond Webb got the task. The Pro Bowl rookie. He was successful on the day here. He works him inside, gets some help from Keith Sims, and Bruce Smith held without a sack all day.
And that protection helped Dan Marino engineer the best drive, certainly early, to Mark Clayton, just back in the lineup, took some sticks today and was tough. Farrell Edmonds, Pro Bowl tight end, across the middle for 24 yards. Then on third down, watch John Hagee. It's called your clothesline of Tony Martin. They're going to call it a personal foul. It's going to keep Miami's drive alive. Don Shula watches his team on a nice 16-play drive. Pete Stoyanovich had hit 18 in a row from inside the 40. His 19th, no good. And we remain scoreless. The Bills, meanwhile, got a charge led by our Christmas greeter, Ken Hall, on the offensive line. Hall, the Pro Bowl center, blocking for Thurman Thomas. We're in behind Hall and Jim Richter. It's a gain of 11. Right? Another Pro Bowler, Andre Reed. A nice play that picks up 20 yards. And then Thurman Thomas.
Here he swings out of the backfield and takes advantage of Lewis Oliver's hesitation right there. Scampers upfield for a 22-yard gain.
This is a 13-play, 80-yard march for the Bills. Reich said they'd use everybody, including James Lofton. They did. He zips it, Lofton booms it past McKyer, and the Bills lead it 7-0. $1:21 to go in the first half. Miami has a chance, but Marino is picked by Clifford Hicks at his hot lick. Buffalo leads 7-0 at the half. Nothing went right for Miami to start the third quarter. Short kickoff by Scott Norwegian Wood, but it's fumbled by Mark Logan. Carlton Beetle Bailey recovers it for Buffalo. Reich capitalized. Zips to Andre Reed. 14-0 Bills. Jim Kelly says, I don't have 14 fingers, but there's 10. Marino tried to keep Miami close. To Mark. Super duper with the great catch. Miami hanging tough. They were game today. They cut it to 14-7. But Frank Reich's numbers, 15 of 21. One of them, the bomb to Beebe of 44 yards, setting up a field goal, 17-7 Buffalo. And then, when the weather is frightful, it's Thermal Thomas. Thermal nuclear warfare. Thomas scores the touchdown, 24-7. Thomas running on the day, 154 yards on 30 carries. Miami scored a late touchdown, but it's party time in Buffalo. Bruce Smith says to fans, let's tear down the goalpost. I guarantee there'll be no beer consumed in Western New York tonight. Sure, Buffalo beat Miami 24-14, and they're home all the way through the AFC playoffs. Bruce Smith said, how sweet it is.
We've been ready the whole week to play them. I mean, we had coaches coming into the meetings, banging their heads up against lockers and fired up and ready to go. We had to tell a couple of our coaches, hey, you're not playing Sunday. You know, we got to play the game.
You coach for 40 years. You play about 3 or 4 games in your career that's like this, and this is one of them. I told Scott before the game that this is the most butterflies I had before an event since I was in the 2nd grade play for the PTA. I was a tree.
Marv and the folks in Buffalo have good reason to celebrate. Miami played a pretty good game, but Tommy, we talked about it on game day. There was a checklist here for the Bills.
Yes, and keeping that checklist, if it was a report card, Chris, the Bills made the honor roll today. It began with total dominance of the offensive line against the Dolphins' defensive line. That led to Wright being comfortable in the pocket and handling that pressure of the AFC's biggest game of the year. How he did it, he distributed the ball offensively. The first touchdown went to James Lofton, his second touchdown to Andre Reed, and in between he hit everybody else on the Bills squad. And, oh, yeah, a guy named Thurman Thomas, the best go-to guy in the NFL, accounted for those yardage that we saw rushing the football. He also put up another 29 receiving.
Max?
You didn't learn all this fancy educational jargon at Louisville, did you? When I go to Kentucky, I read the racing form myself. You know why? It's full of excuses. Your horse is always bothered, forced wide, trapped on the inside. It's never your own fault. I looked at the Dolphins this way today. I looked at Mark Logan fumbling that kickoff at the start of the second half, a key play. Mark Duper, after his great catch, dropped a couple that hit him between the numbers. Lots of excuses for the Dolphins. But, you know, the simple conclusion, even in your halls of higher knowledge, I have to say the better team today won the game.
They could play again in the playoffs in January, and they got a 30-degree day in December. Might be 0 in January. Miami was very game today, but that one might be even a little bit tougher because Kelly is expected to be back now for that first playoff game. Warren Moon's season's over. He didn't break the record. He didn't get to 5,000, but it's the 5th highest passing season ever turned in by a quarterback. Pretty good list that Moon has thrown himself into, and in touchdowns, also tied for 5th best in the single season. Congratulations, Warren. Back on NFL Primetime, the U-Log is already ablaze, so Axe, I'm sure you have some Christmas thoughts for us.
I do, Chris, as it happens. You know, there's a phrase you hear on racetracks around the world. You also hear it in the mafia social clubs where the good fellas hang out. I hear you might even hear it in corporate boardrooms, at least a few where honest people still dwell. And the saying will always endure, class tells. In key moments, the stand-up guys stand up. Character seeks its own level. And with the playoffs looming, the pressure mounting, this was that kind of day. A superb team beat a very good team when the Bills methodically crushed the Dolphins. They even marshaled that special quality that helps people rally around a backup quarterback at crunch time. A crippled team became a study in heart and courage when the bedraggled Bears, looking vaguely like Valley Forge survivors, somehow destroyed the younger, healthier Bucks. For an individual portrait in courage, try Steve DeBerg. His broken finger was excruciatingly painful. His cast, unsightly and cumbersome. But the Chiefs needed their game desperately. So, win or lose, Bergie played. The images of today call up ghosts of Christmas seasons past. Gino Marchetti, the noblest of old Baltimore Colts, breaking a leg and insisting on sitting on a sideline stretcher until his team had beaten the Giants in overtime to win a championship. Joe Klecko, an 18-wheeler amid flashy sports cars, hobbling to greatness, while a puerile teammate danced to phony glory. Bobby Lane and Ken Stabler, with blood on their jowls and whiskey on their breath, throwing that last winning pass. You can put this in perspective by citing the opposite type, the losers who quit and run for the bus, like Cleveland and New England. But those teams shouldn't distract us today. Let's applaud the likes of Chuck Noll, up 35-0 early in the game. He circled the wagons and refused to run it up on the pathetic Browns. No ego there, just class. Don Shula and Marv Levy, no surprise that their hard-fought game ended with a warm handshake. But I also applaud Buddy Ryan and Jimmy Johnson, who brandished their mutual hatred by an emphatic non-handshake. No fakery, just a different kind of class. Stand-up guys, all of them. The kind of guys that you want to salute in the holiday spirit. Like all of you who have shared the fun of the season with all of us. Merry Christmas. Chris?
And we echo those sentiments, of course. And it will be a Merry Christmas for a bunch of teams in the NFL. This is the latest look at the playoff situation. Of course, we've already known in the NFC, 5 of the 6 teams. The Eagles win next week. They'll host a wild card game. The Niners are the 1 seed. Giants are the 2 seed. Bears will have to play the extra playoff game despite the fact they won their division. Who was up for the wild card berth? And then there were 2. Dallas wins, they're in. New Orleans wins and Dallas loses, the Saints are in. They both lose, Dallas is in at 7-9. Nice. Over in the AFC, Buffalo is home for the playoffs. Raiders win next week, they will win the West. If not, and the Chiefs win, they'll win the West. The Dolphins are a wild card team. The Central is all bundled up. Pittsburgh can win the division or be a wild card. Houston might win the division. Bengals could win a 3-way tie for the division. Seattle still alive. It would take a lot longer to explain. Hey, everybody out at home, from all of us here and to all you guys here, Merry Christmas to all, and to all, a good night.